as their game was first. And two words really sprung to mind for me tonight when it came to Arsenal. The first one was grown. And when I think of the word grown, I remember I hadn't seen one of my cousins for a few years, and he'd gone from being a 16-year-old tearaway to like a 19-year-old man who had really grown, who had really matured, who had really become, he was always a nice person, but he'd just become that maturer version of himself, someone that I'd sit in the pub with and have a drink with, someone I would bring out with my friends, someone I wanted to socialize with. He just become, where I'm from, we'd call that someone who is grown. And that's what Arsenal were tonight. This was a grown-up, professional, title-winning, worthy performance. And what I mean by that is this, that they dominated the first half by an absolute country mile. The ball, the play. There's a few breakaway counters from Luton. They've been very good at that all year, but Arsenal dominated. They did this, by the way, after making 5 changes to their first team. Smith Rowe coming in, Nelson as an example, Partey, stat I found out tonight, Reece Nelson's first Premier League start in 4 years. Zinchenko back into the team as well. Trossard came in. So there was a few players that have been regulars, and there was a few individuals that barely start. Partey because of injury, and then, of course, Smith Rowe and Nelson. And that's an ever so slight risk, but it has to happen with the abundance of games that Arsenal got to play. But what I thought Arsenal did so impeccably well tonight is they got themselves 2 goals ahead. Very good performance from Kai Havertz, Odegaard. I'm going to talk about him a little bit more again, but absolutely majestic on the ball tonight. Took his goal well. The second one is scored. I think it actually went down as an own goal, but created really by Nelson and Smith Rowe, respectively, by their runs and their play. They went 2-0 up. And then what Arsenal did is they just maintained the game. They didn't keep playing in 3rd or 4th or 5th gear. They wasted no energy and they reserved themselves. Now, from a neutral's point of view, watching that second half, it was hard. I mean, I more was watching City by then. It was a very hard watch because they were not really trying to score more goals. Luton weren't going to do anything. The game was already over. And it ended up being a very simplistic win for Arsenal. But it was a mature and a grown performance. A team that would have reserved so much energy. They've got a big game away from home on Saturday against a side that they've had some real poor luck against over recent years, especially away from home in Brighton. A team that doesn't win a lot at the moment, but gets a lot of draws. And a draw right now for Arsenal, Liverpool, City, unless it's against one another, is almost catastrophic because you're losing those 2 points and the other 2 are winning so many games. It was very much the consummate training game. And for me, that's just shown how far Arsenal have come. I have seen Liverpool and City over the past 7 to 8 years do this on a regular basis. They get 2 or 3 goals ahead. They might score again late on, but they just control the game. It becomes an absolute non-starter, unwatchable for a rival fan. And I'm sure there were gooners, and I'm going to look at one who's backstage now in Sard, that in that second half probably found themselves drifting towards the City game, checking their phone, maybe went downstairs to make some food. We've all been there. In the ground, listen, there was a kind of game where some people might have even gone back inside and got a pint and watched on the screens inside. I'm sure Arsenal have got those screens inside like Old Trafford had when I used to go there, because it was just done. And I think it shows such a maturity in this Arsenal side. And it's really interesting because this is the month that everybody predicts them to fall apart. And I want to challenge rivals, and I want to challenge Arsenal fans watching to tell me, what does it mean by Arsenal falling apart at this stage? Define that. And don't just say not winning the title. That is too broad. You need to define it by specifying. You need to specify how far off not winning the title that drop-off looks like, because I want to hold people to account on this. I want to understand what it means, because if they stay at this level and miss out by 1 point at the end of the season, it's not really a drop-off. We need to define it. But at this moment, Arsenal are not showing any signs whatsoever of doing that. On to tonight's game. I've mentioned Kai Havertz already. I thought he was really good tonight. I thought he led the line well when Arsenal were trying to score and when they were playing with a bit more zip in their play. I thought he was excellent leading that line. The work he did for the opening goal, I thought was majestic from him. Another kind of GA to add to the list for him. And, I always wonder how Chelsea fans feel. I know they didn't necessarily like him, but he's now currently sits top of the English Premier League with one of your local rivals. It's just such an interesting dynamic. But I thought he was really, really good indeed. Defensively, I thought it was another really strong performance from the back line, especially Gabriel. I kind of feel like he's a young sung hero in the defensive line this season. Saliba gets a lot of the plaudits, but I thought he was excellent as well. I thought Smith Rowe, considering it was his first start in such a long time, acquitted himself very, very well. But the standout performer for me, again, was Martin Odegaard. And I paid homage to Lee Gunner a few weeks ago, and I'm going to do the same thing again because he was the person that put this out into the football universe first for me. You might have heard someone else say it, but I don't like to take things from other people. The big games are not always Arsenal City, Arsenal Liverpool, Arsenal Man United. Sometimes big games are must-win matches, and you've just got that point away from home at City, which looks an even better result now, and you have to turn up. You've got 4 or 5 of your main first-team players rotated, Saka not even on the bench. They needed that captain's performance from him today, and he gave it. He was absolutely brilliant. He scored another very, very important goal. And there's one of those things in our straight facts debates that Lee Gunner really changed my mind on. So I always like to obviously pay homage to him on that in relation to the way Odegaard stepped up in another big game, because it was a big and an important game, especially with City winning 4-1. It's very likely the Sheffield United are going to win tomorrow. And Arsenal needed to get the job done. And their captain, their leader, and, he's just such a star player. His touch, the way he pirouettes on the ball, his striking ability. He was absolutely majestic tonight. He really, really was. And another little milestone for Arsenal in this victory is they're the first team from the traditional top 6. In the current top 6, I believe the commentator said, to beat Luton by more than the 1-goal margin this season. So, and by the way, they probably could have added a third or fourth or a fifth to it if they really went for it in the second half. But I think they did the right thing. There is no mileage. Their goal difference is superior. I understand City trying to score more goals right up into the final whistle because they need to catch that goal difference up, because it literally could come down to goal difference again this season. So I thought, as I say, it was a simplistic, an easy performance for Arsenal. Not a game that we remembered for the ages by Arsenal fans. A game that neutrals probably switched off from when it went 2-0. But just another excellent display from them. They now sit top of that Premier League. And I'm really intrigued now to see this weekend's game, especially after Liverpool tomorrow. They're away at Brighton. I just want to go and check this. I'll check it while we're on the screen right now, because I don't actually know. I haven't looked as of yet. They play Saturday at 5:30. So City play first against Crystal Palace. Then it's Arsenal, as you can see with the fixtures up on the board right now. So it's likely again that City win. I would predict them to beat Palace, although they've had some dodgy results against Palace in years gone by. And if City win, Arsenal will be sitting probably third in the table by that point. So a massive game for Arsenal this weekend, which is why there was that added pressure tonight to go and get that done, especially with the rotation as well. This here says, Terry, if Spurs put that performance, you would be crucifying them. Spurs are not sitting top of the league and in a title race. And if your club's ever been in a title race, you would understand the fundamental differences. You cannot play with the amount of games Arsenal have got. I think they play, it's the 3rd today, they play on the 6th, and they play on the 9th, then they play on the 14th, and they're playing on average, I think it's every 4.5 days this month. You cannot play at 100 miles an hour in every game when you're in a title race, when you're still in the Champions League. You can't do it. You've seen City with multiple trophy seasons. You can't do it. You have to learn how to adapt in game and know when to turn it on and turn it off. So it's not about crucifying anybody for a performance. If Arsenal were really lackluster the whole game and scraped a 1-0 over the line, late on, then yes, it would be criticized. But I don't know if you've ever gone back and watched any Spurs match review where Spurs have taken an early lead, game managed their way through to the end, if I've ever sat there and slagged them off. Now, again, if Arsenal were being peppered, if Arsenal were being hurt, if they were getting, like, if Raya was making save after save after save when they took their foot off the gas, my reaction to the game would be very different. But that isn't what happened. So that's why it's not. So absolutely, absolutely not. And I've praised Liverpool and City many times in the past on match reactions to doing exactly the same thing. So I'm just keeping that energy 110%. A training game could have give a couple men minutes. Yeah, look, this is the thing, though. You have to get the balance right. As much as he was bringing on players that are part of the first team, again, listen to what Liverpool players have said. Listen to what City players have said in recent years. They want to keep a rhythm. They want to get onto the football pitch as regularly as possible. They don't want to go a week. They don't want to go. You look at Martinelli coming on. By the time maybe he plays on Saturday against Brighton, look how many weeks it's been since he's actually had a full game under his belt. If he sits out this week, it's more missed game time. So I think you have to get the balance right. Equally, the guys who started the game like Smith Rowe, Nelson, Partey, because of the lack of starts, playing them for a full 90 minutes is dangerous. That is when it can lead to pulled muscles, strains, because their body hasn't been used to competitive sport for a long time. You have to get that. You don't want to do what Man United and Ten Hag have done. Between him and the medical team, we keep rushing players back, starting them too early. The training is too intense. And then they keep picking up more and more and more injuries. So much of that is on us as a club. So I think Arteta got that element absolutely spot on this evening. By the way, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you're hitting the like button and make sure you are subscribing.